Okay, I want to talk about two stories, two completely opposite realities that happened on the very same day. It's a fascinating and, frankly, a pretty worrying picture. So, on one side you have Wall Street. The algorithms are firing, champagne corks are popping. The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq are hitting all-time highs based on a story of peace and prosperity. But on the other side of the world, in the quiet of the Indian Ocean, a lone oil tanker called the Rich Star does something strange. It turns around. This explainer is all about that massive disconnect and why the silent story of that one ship probably matters a whole lot more for your money than all the noise coming from Wall Street. And the wildest part is that this whole complex story, it really boils down to a number that most people are completely missing, but it tells us everything we need to know. Just look at this. If you want to buy a barrel of oil for delivery right now, it's going to cost you $140. But if you want to buy that same barrel of oil for delivery just 1 month from now, it's only $100. Now, let me be clear. That is not normal. In a healthy market, those two prices are basically the same. What we're seeing here is a huge unnatural gap. And that's the number, $40. That $40 difference isn't just a market quirk. Oh no, it is a massive, high-stakes bet that the entire financial world is making with our future. So here's what that $40 gap is really saying. It's Wall Street betting billions of dollars that this whole conflict in the Strait of Hormuz will just, poof, disappear within 30 days. They're betting that peace will be restored and the oil will flow like nothing ever happened. But you gotta ask yourself, is that really a safe bet? Okay, so that's Wall Street's gamble. Now, let's put it to the test. Let's see how this beautiful story of a quick peace holds up against, cold, hard reality. And right away, we see a problem. This chart isn't from the stock market. This is from a prediction market, where people are betting their own cash on what they think will actually happen. And while the stock market is betting on peace, these guys are betting on the exact opposite. The odds of the strait reopening have completely collapsed, cut by more than half. And if that isn't enough to make you nervous, listen to this. This quote is from the head of the International Energy Agency. This is the person who sees the real-time global energy data before anyone else. And he said this shock is worse than every major oil crisis of the last 50 years combined. It is an absolutely terrifying warning. And the markets? They just plugged their ears and kept buying. And this shows you what's actually happening on the ground. These aren't predictions. The physical flow of energy out of the region has been decimated. We're talking about an 88% drop in fuel oil, 85% in jet fuel, and look at that last number, a 94% drop in daily ship traffic. That isn't a disruption, folks. That's a shutdown. And this isn't some abstract problem that might happen someday. It's happening right now. Europe is reportedly down to just 6 weeks of jet fuel. Airlines like KLM are already canceling hundreds of flights. And Qatar, which is a critical supplier of natural gas for countries like Italy, has seen its export capacity slashed by a fifth. These are real-world consequences. So the market's bet on a quick and tidy solution also depends on calm, stable leadership, right? Well, that narrative starts to fall apart when you hear from people on the inside. John Bolton, who was Trump's own national security advisor, didn't describe the situation as confident or in control. His word was panic. That doesn't exactly sound like a situation that's going to be solved in 30 days. And then came this bombshell. A top intelligence official, someone hand-picked by the administration itself, quit. And in his resignation, he stated point blank that the entire public reason for this conflict, that Iran is a nuclear threat, is just not true. So you have a top insider saying the whole premise is false. But let's put all the politics and chaos aside for just a second. Let's look at the pure math of this conflict. Because when you do, you realize the whole thing is financially impossible. So let's break it down. Iran can build and launch one of their attack drones for about $30,000. In the grand scheme of military spending, that's pretty cheap. Okay, but now look at the cost for the US to shoot that one drone down. $4 million. For every one drone, they have to fire a $4 million missile. The math is insane. For the cost of intercepting just one drone, Iran could build 130 more of them. You cannot win a war with economics like that. It's completely unsustainable. So you might be sitting there in Europe thinking, okay, this is all very dramatic, but what does a drone war thousands of miles away really have to do with my bank account? Well, it turns out everything. It's a chain reaction, like a line of dominoes that starts over there and ends right at your front door. The unsustainable cost of the war makes the U.S. national debt even bigger. To handle that debt, the Federal Reserve eventually has to print more money. That new money floods the world and causes inflation everywhere, which then forces the European Central Bank to keep interest rates high to fight that inflation. And those high rates, that's where you come in. And here's what it means for you, in plain English. That variable rate mortgage you were hoping would go down soon, it's not going to. It might even go up. Your gas bill to heat your home, it's directly tied to those global prices and those disrupted supplies from Qatar. So yeah, that's set to rise too. The shockwave is real, and it is headed straight for households all across Europe. So the takeaway here is not to panic. Not at all. It's to understand that the world has changed, and that means our financial mindset has to change with it. It's really as simple as this. The investment strategy that worked perfectly well when the world was stable and predictable is not the right strategy for today. The old playbook is out of date. This isn't about selling everything and running for the hills. It's about making smart, defensive adjustments. The advice from the source is pretty clear. Consider a small position in commodities, maybe hold some gold as a classic insurance policy, and shift your bond holdings to be more short-term. But, and this is the most important part, you keep your regular disciplined investment plan going. That's your best defense against all this uncertainty. So ultimately, it comes down to a choice. Who do you listen to? Do you listen to the loud, cheerful party on Wall Street that's betting on a perfect outcome? Or do you pay attention to the silent, hard data from the real world, the data from that tanker turning around in the middle of the ocean? You know, the celebrations always make the most noise, but it's usually the silences that tell you the truth. And the truth of this moment, while Wall Street celebrates, is that a single tanker is turning back because it knows it can't get through. And that quiet, lonely action might just be telling us more about our financial future than all the noise in the world.